Alright, so I've done the top 10 strongest quirks in My Hero. Now I'm gonna do the top 10 weakest quirks. And the same rules applies in this video. It depends on how useful the quirk is in combat and how versatile the quirk is, and more importantly, how useful is this quirk if it was handed to anybody else. But let's go ahead and get into this video. Kicking off our list at number 10 is the quirk Permeation. Alright, now listen, before you start typing your little angry comments, I need you to listen up. This quirk is not good. Mirio made this quirk good. We all know what Permeation does. It makes you intangible so you can walk through solid objects. Now, everyone seems to forget that this has been stated to be a very hard quirk to control, and if used incorrectly can lead to fatal injuries. First of all, when this quirk is activated, your senses are all cut off. You can't breathe, see, smell, you can't do none of that. You can't even tell where you are. This quirk requires micromanagement to use at a basic level, let alone with how advanced Mirio uses it. You cannot give this quirk to the average smooth-brained person. They will not be able to use it at all. Alright, let's look at someone like Kaminari. Do you really think that if he had this quirk, he'll be able to use it at the level of Mirio, let alone even use it at all? No, that's the answer. For me to consider a quirk strong, you should be able to give it to anybody and they will still be a threat. The only reason why people think this quirk is good is because Mirio is just built different. His dad has the exact same quirk, and there's a reason why he didn't become a hero. Is because this quirk is only usable by the top 1%. A lot of you all watching this video will not be able to use this quirk at all, but me on the other hand, I will master this quirk in like a month. Alright, so from here on out, every single quirk on this list is just going to be completely garbage, no matter who you give it to, whether you give it to Batman or Goku. And we're starting that with the Cork Mushroom. Now, there is a possibility that this quirk could be useful, but it requires a ton of setup. But 9 out of 10 times, this quirk is completely useless. All this quirk does is give you the power to make mushrooms. You're like Poison Ivy, but worse. And these mushrooms can grow anywhere from like ceilings to floors to even inside your throat. So that way it's hard to breathe. But this quirk requires way too much setup and way too much equipment to make this quirk even useful in an average fight. If you were in a fight, you will get sent to the Shadow Realm before your first mushroom can even spawn. Having super strength is a great power, but not at the cost of developing diabetes. The quirk Sugar Rush increases your strength every time you eat sugar. And in theory, that quirk is not too bad of a superpower. But the super strength doesn't last for that long, and if you want to regain that strength back, you have to consume more sugar, and that's gonna hurt you in the long run. Because the more sugar you eat, the dumber you get and the more tired you get over time. You could probably make use of this quirk if you were like in a 1-minute fight, but then after that, it's just gonna go downhill for you. Hey, Sato, you might want to change your profession to being a bacon. It seems like you're better at that than being a hero. Who doesn't love lasers? Lasers are one of the coolest things in all of fiction. You know, you can shoot them from guns, your eyes, your hands, but easily the lamest place to shoot lasers from is from your belly button. The quirk Naval Laser allows you to shoot lasers from your belly button. You know, this quirk is useful, okay? It is capable of destroying robots, and with enough refinement, you can make it a sword and then proceed to hump everyone to death. But there is one big downside. Using this quirk too much gives you stomach aches. Now, let's be aware, shooting lasers from your belly button is not worth having a stomach pain. And Aoyama doesn't even do this quirk justice because his body wasn't fit to hold this quirk because it's not his quirk. So if anything, he makes this quirk look even worse. Hey, All For One, I love you, bud. I'm just wondering, why out of all the quirks in the world, you saw belly button lasers as being useful to take? Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, he was probably doing the guy who had this quirk originally a big favor by taking it from him. You know, I never considered hair powers to be cool, but if I had the choice between having green fire for hair or grapes, I'm definitely choosing the green fire. The quirk Pop Off gives you sticky balls for hair. First of all, having this quirk makes you the prime victim for all roast sessions at the cafeteria tables. You can use this quirk to stick someone to a wall or, you know, climb walls with it or, you know, hold things together, but overall, this quirk is just booty. Just like Mineta, hey, go figure. But, you know, sticking someone to a surface, you know, alright, that might be useful, but 9 out of 10 times, they won't even be near a surface for you to stick them to in the first place. These balls aren't like Spider-Man's webs where you throw them at someone and they get flown back to the next wall. They just stick to the person. It's like those black balls from The Incredibles, but worse. And what's even worse is that overuse of this quirk causes your head to bleed. You're gonna bleed more than Shawn Michaels did at the Great American Bash. Coming in at number 5 is the quirk Any Voice. Basically what this quirk does is that you can talk to animals, that's all. Now you're probably thinking, oh, with this quirk I can summon bears and lions and tigers to fight for me, but you're defenseless. You yourself are defenseless. But what really sucks about this quirk is that its power, its usefulness depends on where you're located at. For instance, if you're in a zoo, you can summon lions and tigers and penguins. But what are you gonna do in a city like New York? What, summon every pigeon in the surrounding area to drop a synchronized dump on whoever you're fighting? Mustard, hands down, is a top 5 worst characters in My Hero Academia. And his quirk is a top 5 worst quirk in the entire series. His quirk is called Sleeping Gas, and if you have an IQ above 10, you should know what this quirk does based on the name. You know, it's a lot easier to win a fight when your opponent is asleep. But there is a huge downside with this quirk, is that it puts the user to sleep. Do I have to explain why this quirk is bad? It puts its own user to sleep. This man Mustard has to wear a whole gas mask just so he doesn't put himself to sleep. This quirk is just a more useless version of Midnight's quirk. Mustard, listen buddy, maybe being a villain really isn't cut out for you, okay? You got slammed by a girl with Dustclop-sized hands in Iron Boy Jr. This quirk is so useless that this man had to carry some heat on him just so he can do anything useful. Imagine living in a world where people have powers that allow you to generate fire and summon a shadow demon from your stomach, and you're stuck with a tail. The quirk Tail is literally what its name is. It's just a tail. Alright, it's not even a cool tail where it has fire on the end or allows you to skewer people. All it is just a big ass tail. I don't even know what to say. This is the perfect quirk for a side man like Ojiro. It's a boring and shit quirk for a boring and shit character. I'm honestly disappointed that the quirk I'm about to talk about next isn't number 1, but the quirk is Telescopic. This quirk is owned by, you know, I don't even care to remember your name because you're a jobber. Just like Ojiro, you're a side man. This quirk basically turns you into a turtle. You can fold your body into itself. I don't really know how that's useful in a fight, you know, unless you're playing an advanced game of whack-a-mole. Actually, I do know a way that this quirk can be useful. All you have to do is fold yourself into a small enough form so we can stuff you in a box and send you back to OVW. You know, somehow this number 1 quirk is even more useless than turning yourself into a ball. But the absolute worst quirk on this list by a mile is Spinner's Gecko quirk. Alright, listen, I love Spinner. That man is the GOAT, but his quirk absolutely sucks. All this quirk does is just make him a lizard. You know, he can cling to walls, but that's about it. It doesn't give him super strength, super speed. He's literally just a human lizard. You know, with the other mutant type quirks, at least they gain the abilities of those animals, but like on steroids. With Sue's frog quirk, she can cling to walls, jump really far, swim, camouflage, and even has a tongue that can carry people. And with Mirko, she has super hearing, super smell, spidey senses, and even sweaty, thick thighs that can crush the head of a Nomu. But all Spinner does is just cling to walls. You know, he can't even extend his nails or even regenerate. He's just a lizard. There's a reason why this man carries a big ass sword. His quirk is useless. Spinner, you and Shigaraki are pretty good friends, right? You know, you guys play video games all the time together. Just go up to that man and just politely ask him to give you any other quirk or take that quirk away from you.